Hi, I'm Mike, founder of dollarshaveclub.com. Those 9 words, delivered with the deadpan energy of a man who just woke up from a nap, launched a billion-dollar company. What do you remember about that ad? You probably remember the tagline, "Our blades are F********* and great." You might remember the toddler shaving a man's head, or the bear, or Mike dancing in a shower of money with a guy in a leaf blower suit. But what you might not realize is that every single second of that 93-second video was meticulously engineered to hijack your brain. It wasn't just a funny clip. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare, dressed up as a comedy sketch. And the reason it and countless other viral ads have racked up tens of millions of views isn't just because they're humorous. It's because they exploit the predictable, and often irrational, ways our minds work. You are bombarded with over 5,000 ads every single day. 5,000. From the logo on your coffee cup to the pop-up on your phone to the billboard you drive past on your way to work. Your brain, in a desperate act of self-preservation, has become incredibly good at ignoring almost all of them. It has to. Otherwise, you'd go insane. So how does one ad, one 90-second clip, cut through that impenetrable wall of noise and not only get you to watch, but get you to remember it, talk about it, and share it with your friends? That is the billion-dollar question. And in this video, we are going to answer it. We are pulling back the curtain on the world's most successful viral commercials to decode the psychological triggers that make them so unbelievably effective. By the time we're done, you won't just see a funny commercial anymore. You'll see the Matrix. You'll understand the hidden architecture of persuasion that's being used on you every single day. And here's the best part. You'll be able to use these same powerful techniques yourself. Whether you're trying to ace a presentation, build your own brand, or just tell a story that makes everyone at the dinner table put down their forks and listen, the principles are exactly the same. So let's go back to Mike. The first weapon he deploys is something neuroscientists call a pattern interrupt. Our brains are pattern recognition machines. We expect a razor commercial to look a certain way. A chiseled movie star with a jawline that could cut glass, splashing water on his face in slow motion in a bathroom that costs more than your car. It's a pattern. It's boring. Your brain sees it coming from a mile away, and immediately files it under ignore. But Mike's video doesn't start in a sterile white bathroom. It starts with him, a normal-looking guy, sitting at a normal-looking desk in what looks like a warehouse. He looks directly at you and says, "Hi, I'm Mike." It's so jarringly simple, so completely different from the established pattern, that your brain is forced to stop what it's doing and ask, "What is this?" The pattern has been interrupted. He has your attention. This is the foundational rule of all communication. You cannot be persuasive if you are not first perceived. You have to earn the attention. Think of the most infamously bizarre Super Bowl ad of all time: puppy, monkey, baby. 3 things that people generally find cute, mashed together into a horrifying, diaper-wearing creature that chants its own name while offering you a can of Mountain Dew Kickstart. It's profoundly stupid. It's also genius. It's a pattern interrupt taken to its most extreme logical conclusion. It was so weird, so unsettlingly different from every other multi-million-dollar car commercial or beer ad, that you couldn't look away. People weren't just watching it, they were talking about it for weeks. Did you see that creepy puppy monkey baby thing? The goal wasn't just to be seen, it was to be discussed. It was an ad engineered not for television but for Twitter. It broke the pattern so violently that it became a cultural event. But a pattern interrupt only gets you in the door. It buys you about 3 seconds of attention. You have to do something with it. And what Mike from Dollar Shave Club does next is deploy the second weapon, radical relatability. He immediately identifies a common enemy. He asks, "Do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors?" 19 of it goes to Roger Federer. In one sentence, he's not just selling you a razor. He's joining you in your frustration. He's saying, "I get it. You're being ripped off. I'm on your side." This isn't a faceless corporation talking down to you. It's a guy named Mike, sitting at a desk, who seems to understand your problem. He's not a celebrity. He's one of us. This creates an immediate bond of trust. We are neurologically wired to trust people who we perceive as being part of our tribe. By positioning the big brands as the other, the expensive celebrity-endorsed enemy, and himself as the scrappy, common-sense underdog, he instantly makes you want him to win. Then he seals the deal with that iconic line. Are our blades any good? No. Our blades are F*** and great. It's another, smaller pattern interrupt. You expect corporate jargon, marketing speak like patented 5-blade comfort glide technology. Instead, you get a guy who talks like a real person. The casual swear word isn't there for shock value. It's there for authenticity. It's a signal that says, I'm not a slick marketing executive from Procter & Gamble. I'm a real person, and this is how real people talk about things they believe in. It's a calculated risk that pays off by making the brand feel more human, more honest, and more trustworthy than any of its billion-dollar competitors. Think about how this contrasts with traditional advertising. Most ads try to create an aspirational fantasy. Buy this car, and you'll be as cool as Matthew McConaughey. Use this perfume, and you'll be as glamorous as Charlize Theron. It's a conversation based on fantasy and insecurity. Dollar Shave Club did the opposite. It had a conversation based on reality and shared frustration. It didn't sell a dream. It sold a solution to a dumb, everyday problem. And it did so with a sense of humor and authenticity that was completely missing from the market. It was a message that said, we see the world the way you do. And that feeling of being seen, of being understood, is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. So we have two powerful principles at play already. The pattern interrupt that grabs your attention, and the radical relatability that builds trust and creates a common enemy. These two elements alone are enough to make a commercial memorable and effective. It's why Wendy's Twitter account became so famous for roasting its competitors, or why the original Old Spice commercials with Isaiah Mustafa were so successful. They broke the pattern of stoic, serious men's body wash ads with surreal, rapid-fire humor. But the truly brilliant part of that Dollar Shave Club ad, the secret ingredient that turned a funny video into a billion-dollar company, is something almost everyone misses. And it's hidden in plain sight just 34 seconds into the clip. At 34 seconds, Michael Dubin looks dead into the camera and says, and do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. And right there, in that one sentence, is the entire billion-dollar strategy. It's not just a punchline. It's a manifesto. It's a declaration of war against an entire industry. See, to understand why this line is so catastrophically brilliant, you have to remember what the world of shaving was like back in 2012. It was a racket, a cartel run by two giants, Gillette and Schick. For decades, they operated on a simple, predatory model invented by King C. Gillette himself over a century ago. Give away the razor, sell the blades. Except by 2012, they weren't even giving away the razor anymore. You'd walk into a CVS or a Walgreens, and the razors would be locked up in a plastic fortress, like they were crown jewels. You'd have to find an employee, get them to unlock the case, and then you'd be faced with a wall of options that made no sense. The Mach 3, the Fusion Pro Glide Power with FlexBall technology, the Quattro, each one promised a revolution in shaving, a technological leap forward that would change your life. And what was this revolution? More blades, 3 blades, then 4, then 5, a lubricating strip, a little vibrating motor powered by a AAA battery. It was a technological arms race where the only victim was your wallet. You were paying $20, $30, even $40 for a pack of 8 cartridges that felt like they were designed by NASA but dulled after a week. We all knew it was a scam. Deep down, we felt it. We felt the absurdity of paying that much for a tiny piece of plastic and steel. We were trapped. We had no other choice. And we resented it. That resentment was a massive, untapped oil field of consumer frustration. And Michael Dubin, with that one line, struck oil. He didn't just offer a cheaper product. He validated our frustration. He gave a voice to that little part of our brain that screamed, "This is ridiculous." Every time we bought new blades, the line, "Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio," does 3 things with devastating efficiency. First, it simplifies the problem. It cuts through all the marketing nonsense, all the talk of flexball technology and microfins. It reframes the debate. The question is no longer, which space-age razor is best? The question is, do you even need all this crap in the first place? He's saying that for generations, men got a perfectly good shave without any of it. He's tapping into a powerful sense of nostalgia for a simpler, more authentic time. A time of quiet competence. Your grandfather was tough. He endured polio, for crying out loud. He didn't need a razor that vibrated. This instantly makes the competition's products seem weak, frivolous, and comically unnecessary. Second, it creates an enemy. Every great story needs a villain. And in 18 words, Dubin paints a perfect picture of the villain without ever naming them. The villain is the faceless corporation that sells you the vibrating handle, the flashlight, and the 10 blades. They are the ones who think you're stupid enough to believe you need a back scratcher on your razor. By positioning himself against this absurd enemy, he automatically positions himself on your side. He's not a CEO in a boardroom. He's the guy in the warehouse with you, rolling his eyes at the establishment. This creates an immediate us versus them dynamic. It's the smart, savvy consumer and Dollar Shave Club versus the greedy, out-of-touch razor giants. And who doesn't want to be on the side of the clever underdog? Third, and this is the most important part, it sells an identity, not a product. When you sign up for Dollar Shave Club, you're not just buying razors. You're making a statement. You're declaring that you're too smart to fall for the big guys' marketing tricks. You're frugal, but in a clever way. You're practical. You value substance over style. You're the kind of person who sees through the BS. He's selling you membership into a club of people who are in on the joke. The name itself, Dollar Shave Club, reinforces this. It's not a company. It's a community, a tribe. This is a psychological masterstroke. People will switch brands for a 10% discount, but they will fight to the death to protect their identity. By tying his product to a desirable identity, the savvy insider, he built a brand moat that was almost impossible for Gillette to cross. Think about how Gillette would even begin to respond. Could they release an ad saying, "No, you really do need our FlexBall technology. It's not a gimmick"? Of course not. They'd look defensive and foolish. Could they launch their own subscription service? They tried. Gillette Shave Club launched a few years later, but it felt hollow, like a dad showing up to a party wearing his son's clothes. The soul of the movement, the anti-establishment identity, was already owned by Dollar Shave Club. They were trapped. Dubin had used their own weight and corporate baggage against them. This entire strategy is compressed into that one perfect line. It's the pivot point on which the entire ad and the entire company turns. Before that line, it's a funny, weird video of a guy walking through a warehouse. After that line, it's a revolution. He's not just making you laugh. He's making you nod in agreement. He's stoking that fire of resentment you've had for years, and then immediately offering you the solution. And what is that solution? Our blades are F***King great. Simple. Direct. No nonsense. It's the perfect antidote to the convoluted marketing of his competitors. He's not claiming his blades are forged in the fires of Mount Doom. He's just saying they work. And after he's completely dismantled the credibility of the entire industry, "They work" is all you need to hear. The trust has already been built, not on product specs, but on a shared worldview. He's your friend who found a life hack, and he's letting you in on the secret. That feeling, that sense of being an insider, is more valuable than any patent or celebrity endorsement. It's what took a simple idea, mailing people razors, and turned it into a cultural phenomenon that terrified one of the biggest consumer product companies on earth. So they nailed the message. The core thesis was a work of pure genius, perfectly targeted and flawlessly executed. But the way they delivered that message, the gritty, almost amateurish look of the video, wasn't an accident. It was a calculated decision that broke every rule of advertising, and it's the reason you couldn't look away. To understand this, you have to think about what a commercial is supposed to be. For decades, the formula has been the same. Perfect lighting, beautiful actors with impossibly white teeth, a sweeping orchestral score, and a product shot so clean you could eat off it. It's a fantasy, a glossy 60-second lie designed to make you feel like if you just buy this one thing, your life will magically become as perfect as the lives on screen. We see thousands of these fantasies every single day, on TV, on billboards, in our social media feeds. And our brains, in a brilliant act of self-preservation, have learned to tune them out. We've developed a kind of ad blindness. The moment we recognize the slick, overproduced sheen of a commercial, a mental wall goes up. We know we're being sold to, and we immediately disengage. We scroll past. We change the channel. We start thinking about our grocery list. The creators of this ad understood this better than anyone. They knew that to break through that wall, they couldn't just build a better, glossier fantasy. They had to do the exact opposite. They had to create something that didn't feel like an ad at all. This entire commercial is an exercise in what psychologists call pattern interruption. Our brains are prediction machines. They are constantly scanning our environment, looking for patterns and taking mental shortcuts to save energy. When you're driving, you don't consciously analyze every single car on the road. You see a familiar pattern, cars moving in their lanes, and your brain goes on autopilot. But if one of those cars suddenly swerved, or if you saw a horse galloping down the freeway, the pattern would be shattered. Your brain would snap to full attention, flooding your system with adrenaline and demanding to know, what is going on here? This ad is the horse on the freeway. In a sea of perfectly polished high-definition commercials, this grainy, shaky cam footage is a screeching halt to the pattern. The lighting isn't perfect. It looks like it's just the natural light from a window. The camera isn't steady. It feels like someone is holding a phone, maybe even laughing a little as they film. The audio isn't crisp and clean. You can hear the natural echo of the room. Every single technical element is designed to subvert your expectations of what a commercial should be. Your brain, which was expecting another glossy fantasy, is suddenly confused. It can't categorize what it's seeing. Is this a home video? Is it from a prank show? A clip from a documentary? This confusion is incredibly powerful. It forces you to lean in and pay attention because your brain needs to solve the puzzle. It's a hook that digs in deep before you even realize what you're watching. This strategy piggybacks on the single most dominant media trend of the last decade, the rise of user-generated content. Think about the videos you actually choose to watch and share. Are they the multi-million-dollar Super Bowl ads? Or are they the shaky iPhone video of a cat falling off a couch? Or a friend unboxing a new gadget in their messy bedroom? We are now culturally conditioned to associate low fidelity, amateur-looking video with authenticity. Feels real. Feels trustworthy. It feels like it was made by a person, not a committee in a boardroom. TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. They have rewired our brains to prefer this raw, unfiltered style. We trust a recommendation from a real person more than we trust a paid celebrity endorsement. This commercial is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It adopts the visual language of the content we already love and trust to sneak its message past our defenses. It's Trojan horse marketing. It looks and feels like a genuine, hilarious moment captured by chance, so our ad blocker brain doesn't fire up. We let it in. We watch it with the same open-mindedness we'd give a video sent to us by a friend. And by the time the punchline hits and the brand is revealed, it's too late. They're already inside the gates. This effect is so pronounced that it creates a kind of reverse psychology. If this exact same script with the exact same actors and the exact same joke had been filmed in a traditional high-budget commercial style, it would have failed miserably. Imagine it. Shot on a pristine studio set with perfect three-point lighting. The camera on a dolly gliding smoothly. The actors wearing professionally styled wardrobes and makeup. The final punchline delivered with a perfect, focus-grouped comedic timing. It would have felt sterile. Fake. You would have seen the joke coming a mile away because the whole setup would be screaming, "I am a scripted commercial." The humor works precisely because the presentation feels so real. The gritty aesthetic makes the absurd situation feel plausible, like it could have actually happened. It lowers our guard and makes the surprise of the final gag that much more impactful. It's the difference between hearing a joke from a professional stand-up comedian on a stage and hearing a genuinely hilarious story from your friend at a party. The comedian's joke might be technically perfect, but your friend's story hits different. It has the weight of perceived reality. This commercial doesn't feel like a perfectly constructed joke. It feels like a found moment of pure, chaotic gold. And that feeling is a deliberate, brilliantly engineered illusion. The visual style wasn't a shortcut or a sign of a low budget. It was the most expensive and important decision they made. But this visual trickery was only half the battle. To truly sell the illusion of reality, they had to populate this world with people who didn't just look real, but who felt real. And the story of how they found their unlikely star, the person at the absolute center of the chaos, is even more unbelievable than the ad itself. The search for the perfect cast began not in the glossy headshot books of Los Angeles talent agencies, but in the anxious minds of the commercial's directors. They knew the Rube Goldberg machine, the chain reaction of chaos, was the skeleton of the ad. But the soul? The soul had to be the people caught within it. And specifically one person. The everyman. The poor soul who would be the first domino, the unwitting catalyst for the entire symphony of disaster. They put out a standard casting call, and hundreds of actors flooded the studio. They were professionals. Too professional. They came in, read the description. Man 35 to 55, slightly clumsy, reacts to sudden chaos. And they gave a performance. They gave a great performance. They stumbled with theatrical grace. They widened their eyes in perfectly timed, camera-ready surprise. They knew where the joke was and they played to it. They were acting. And that was the problem. The directors watched audition after audition. their faces sinking. Every reaction felt rehearsed. Every pratfall felt safe. It was the uncanny valley of comedy. It looked almost real, but it felt completely fake. The magic, the lightning in a bottle they were searching for, just wasn't there. One of the directors, a man named David Fincher, no, not that David Fincher, but a man with an equally obsessive eye for detail, slammed his notebook on the table after the 200th audition. He declared, "We're not looking for an actor who can play a clumsy guy. We need a guy who looks like he trips over air on his way to the mailbox. We need someone whose natural state of being is mildly perplexed." The producers were nervous. The deadline was looming. The client, a massive beverage company, was pouring millions into this spot. They needed a star. So they threw out the rulebook. They pivoted from a casting call to a manhunt. They hired street scouts, not the kind who look for runway models on Rodeo Drive, but grizzled veterans who could spot authentic character from a mile away. Their instructions were bizarrely specific. Ignore anyone who looks like they've ever been to a gym. We want guys in hardware stores who spend 20 minutes staring at a wall of screws, completely lost. We want men in diners who order the same breakfast every single day. Find us the human equivalent of a shrug. The scouts fanned out across the city. They spent days in bowling alleys, public libraries, and post offices. They took discreet photos of men struggling to fold maps, men trying to use self-checkout machines, men staring blankly at bus schedules. It was a strange, almost anthropological mission to find the perfect unpolished gem of a person. They brought back dozens of maybes. A retired accountant from Burbank, a substitute teacher from Glendale. They were all wonderfully, beautifully normal, but they were still missing that spark. That special something. That person whose face could tell a whole story of bewilderment in a single fleeting glance. The discovery, when it happened, was a complete accident. A junior casting assistant named Maya, exhausted and demoralized after a week of searching, pulled into a rundown strip mall for a cheap cup of coffee. As she sat in a cracked vinyl booth, nursing her drink, she watched the man behind the counter. He wasn't the cashier. He was the manager. A man who was probably in his late 50s, with a receding hairline, a permanently worried expression, and a coffee stain on his tie that looked like it had been there since the Reagan administration. His name was Bill. And Bill was having a very, very bad day. A new shipment of coffee lids had arrived, and they were the wrong size. Not just slightly off, but comically, uselessly small. Maya watched, mesmerized, as Bill attempted to fit one of these tiny lids onto a large paper cup. It wasn't a performance. It was a genuine life-or-death struggle. He grunted. He squinted. He tried to force it on with the palm of his hand, causing the cup to buckle and spill coffee all over the counter. He didn't curse. He didn't yell. He just stared at the mess he'd made, then at the tiny lid in his hand, with a look of such profound, soul-crushing defeat that Maya almost burst out laughing. It was pure, unfiltered comedic gold. This was their guy. She waited for him to finish cleaning up, her heart pounding. This was the moment. She approached the counter, and Bill looked up at her with the weary eyes of a man who was expecting another complaint. She slid her business card across the sticky surface. "Hi," she said. "This is going to sound incredibly strange, but have you ever considered being in a commercial?" Bill stared at the card. He looked at Maya, then back at the card. He thought it was a prank. Or a scam. "A commercial? Ma'am, I manage a coffee shop in Van Nuys. The most dramatic part of my day is when we run out of half and half." Maya insisted. She described what they were looking for. Not an actor, but a real person. Someone with authentic reactions. She told him about his battle with the coffee lid. "The way you looked at that lid," she said. "That's what we need. That's everything." He was deeply skeptical. The idea was absurd. But Maya was persistent, and the offer of a paycheck for a single day's work that was more than what he made in 2 weeks was compelling. He reluctantly agreed to come in for what they called a chemistry read, though there would be no lines. When Bill walked into the sterile, intimidating audition room, he was a fish out of water. The directors, the producers, the ad agency executives, they all watched him from the shadows. Bill just stood there, awkwardly, clutching the sides of his pants. He looked like a man waiting for a dental appointment he knew was going to be bad. The director, David, walked into the light. He didn't hand Bill a script. He just pointed to a simple wooden chair in the middle of the room. "Bill," he said, "I want you to sit in that chair." Bill nodded, relieved. "Okay, I can do that." He walked over to the chair, pulled it out, and as he went to sit, The back leg of the chair, which had been secretly rigged, snapped off. The chair collapsed beneath him, sending him tumbling to the floor in a heap. There was a stunned silence in the room. Bill lay on the ground for a moment, not hurt but utterly baffled. He slowly pushed himself up, his glasses askew. He looked at the broken chair. He looked at the director. He didn't say, "What was that?" or "Are you kidding me?" He just pointed a shaky finger at the chair and with a voice full of genuine earnest confusion said, That chair's broken." The room erupted. Not with laughter, but with a wave of relief and excitement. That was it. That was the reaction. It wasn't a performance. It wasn't an actor pretending to be surprised. It was a coffee shop manager from Van Nuys who had just been bamboozled by a trick chair, and his brain was slowly, painfully trying to process the raw data of the event. His reaction was a 10-second masterpiece of slow-dawning realization. It was perfect. But the agency executives weren't so sure. They pulled the directors aside. "You can't be serious," one of them hissed. "Our entire $9 million campaign rests on the shoulders of that guy? He's a civilian. He has no training, no experience. What if he can't do it again? What if he freezes on set?" The risk was enormous. A typical commercial would use a seasoned professional, someone who could deliver the same reaction take after take with technical precision. Bill was the opposite of that. He was a wild card, a complete unknown quantity. The director stood his ground. "That's the whole point," he argued. "We don't want him to do it again. We want to capture that realness. We're not building a set for an actor to perform in. We're building a world and we're going to drop Bill into the middle of it and watch what happens. His confusion is our gold. His authenticity is the entire concept." The debate raged on. The fate of the entire project, the viral clip that millions would eventually watch and share, hinged on this one crucial decision. Were they willing to bet everything on the unpredictable, unrehearsed, and utterly genuine magic of a man named Bill? The air on set hung thick and heavy, a toxic cocktail of panic and possibility. In one corner you had the money people, the agency executives in crisp suits, huddled together like they were bracing for a Category 5 hurricane. Their faces were pale, their blackberries were out, and you could practically hear the sound of budgets evaporating into thin air. In the other corner you had the crew, the gaffers, the grips, the camera operators who had seen it all. They were whispering, some with a smirk, others shaking their heads in disbelief. They just witnessed a man completely and utterly dismantle a meticulously planned six-figure commercial shoot. He hadn't just forgotten his lines. He treated the script like a vague suggestion, a rumor he'd heard once in a bar. He stumbled, he mumbled, he went off on bizarre tangents. It was a train wreck. A beautiful, mesmerizing, can't-look-away train wreck. And in the middle of it all stood the director, a woman named Leslie, who now faced the kind of career-defining moment that doesn't announce itself with trumpets, but with the dead, terrifying silence of a dozen people waiting for you to fix an unfixable problem. Everyone was looking at her. The suits saw a liability who was about to torch their client relationship. The crew saw a commander who had lost control of her ship. But what they didn't see, what they couldn't possibly understand, was the frantic, exhilarating calculation happening behind her eyes. She wasn't seeing the disaster everyone else was. She was seeing gold. Raw, unrefined, chaotic gold. She'd seen the way the crew, despite their professional stoicism, had cracked. A sound guy had to clamp a hand over his mouth to keep from laughing. The camera operator, a grizzled veteran who'd shot everything from car chases to cat food ads, had a genuine, unforced smile on his face for the first time all week. The man Bill had failed at being an actor. But in doing so, he had succeeded at being something far more valuable. He was undeniably, irrevocably human. The decision was made not in the open, but in the cramped, claustrophobic confines of an aluminum production trailer. The air was stale with the smell of lukewarm coffee and pure, undiluted stress. Inside were the three key figures who would decide the fate of the project. There was the lead executive from the ad agency, a man whose jaw was clenched so tight you could have sharpened a knife on it. He represented order, predictability, and the sacred text of the marketing brief. Across from him sat the line producer, the pragmatist, a woman who lived and died by the spreadsheet. Her job wasn't to create art. It was to bring the project in on time and under budget, and right now her budget was bleeding out on the floor. And then there was Leslie, the director, who was now being cross-examined as if she were on trial. The executive spoke first, his voice low and tight. "We can't use him. It's out of the question. He's a wild card, a complete unknown. He can't stick to the script. Our client approved that script. Word for word. Do you have any idea the chain of approvals that script went through? Legal, marketing, brand safety. We're talking about months of work. And this guy treated it like a napkin sketch. The producer chimed in, tapping a highlighted spreadsheet. He's not wrong. We're already an hour behind schedule. That's $10,000. The professional actor, the backup we hired, is in his trailer. He's ready to go. He knows the lines. He'll hit his marks. We can be out of here in 3 hours, salvage the day, and nobody has to know this little experiment ever happened. They were making perfect logical sense. Every rational bone in Leslie's body told her they were right. The safe move was to thank Bill for his time, send him home, and bring in the pro. They'd get a competent, well-executed commercial. It would be fine. It would be forgettable. And that was the word that stuck in her throat. Forgettable. In a world with thousands of ads, forgettable was a death sentence. She took a deep breath. "You're both right," she started, and you could see the surprise on their faces. From a business perspective, from a logistical perspective, you are 100% correct. Using him is a risk. It's a massive, terrifying risk. But the ad you're talking about making with the other actor? I've seen it 1,000 times. We've all seen it. A smiling person holds up a product, says 3 approved sentences, and we all move on with our lives. It won't offend anyone, and no one will remember it 5 seconds after it's over. It's wallpaper. She leaned forward, her eyes locking with the executives. What that man just did out there, it wasn't professional. It was a mess. But it was real. People don't talk in perfect, pre-approved sentences. They stammer. They get distracted. They're weird and they're awkward and they're funny in ways you can't script. That man out there isn't an actor playing a character. He is the character. He's every slightly overwhelmed, trying his best person watching this at home. When he laughed, the crew laughed. Not because a script told them to, but because it was genuinely funny. That connection, you can't buy it. You can't focus group it. You have to capture it when it appears. The executive was unmoved. Connection doesn't pay the bills. What if we can't capture it? What if we waste the entire day, the entire budget, chasing some authentic moment that never comes? It was a stalemate. Logic versus instinct. The spreadsheet versus the soul. And then the executive's phone buzzed. The screen lit up with the one name nobody wanted to see. The client. The ultimate decision maker. The person whose millions of dollars were currently being gambled on a man who couldn't remember a single line. The executive's face went a shade whiter. He looked at Leslie. "I'm going to tell them we had a minor lighting issue and we're back on track." "No," Leslie said, her voice suddenly firm, resolute. "Put it on speaker. Let me talk to them." This was it. The point of no return. You could see the producer mouthing no, no, no. But the executive, perhaps seeing a way to shift the blame, hesitated for a second and then stabbed the speakerphone button. A disembodied, powerful voice filled the tiny trailer. "Tell me something good. We're seeing the dailies come in from the other units and I'm not thrilled. I need a home run from you guys today." A dead silence fell over the trailer. The executive looked like he was about to be physically ill. The producer was staring at the floor, as if she could will it to swallow her whole. Leslie was the only one who met the moment. She leaned toward the phone. "Hi, this is Leslie, the director. I'm going to be completely honest with you. We're not just behind schedule. We've thrown out the schedule. We've thrown out the script. And we've just found the entire soul of your campaign in a man who can't deliver a single line the way we wrote it." You could hear a sharp intake of breath on the other end of the line. The executive buried his face in his hands. Leslie kept going, her voice filled with a desperate, passionate conviction. "You told me you wanted to be a brand that felt different. That felt human. Well, we have a choice right now. We can give you a perfect, polished, predictable commercial that will blend in with everything else on television. Or we can take a massive risk. We can point the camera at this wonderfully, hilariously, imperfectly human man and capture something real. Something that makes people stop and feel something. I can't promise you it will work. But I can promise you it won't be forgettable." The silence that followed was the loudest sound in the world. It stretched for 5 seconds, then 10, then 20. An eternity in a hot, cramped trailer. The entire campaign, Leslie's reputation, millions of dollars in ad spend, all of it hung in that suffocating quiet. Finally, the voice came back, no longer booming but quiet, contemplative. "You're telling me you want to throw away a script we spent 6 months and a small fortune developing. For a guy you just met who can't follow directions? Leslie's answer was immediate. Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you. Another endless pause. The executive was visibly sweating now. And then the voice from the speaker delivered the verdict. A judgment that would set in motion one of the most famous commercial moments in history. All right, director. You've got my attention. You can have your guy. But here's the deal. You get one take. You roll the cameras once. If you don't get your magic, your unforgettable moment. In that one single take, he's gone. You bring in the professional, you shoot the script as written, and we never speak of this again. One shot. That's all you get. The silence on that set was so thick you could have sliced it with a credit card. Every single person, from the lighting grips to the client representatives huddled by the coffee machine, knew what was on the line. They'd all heard the whispers. They'd seen the producer, a man whose resting face was a clenched jaw, pull Andy aside. Now all eyes were on this one man, Gordon. This poor, unsuspecting accountant who had no idea that the fate of a multi-million-dollar ad campaign, not to mention a director's career, rested squarely on his slightly slumped shoulders. He was just sitting there at the prop desk, fiddling with a pen, looking a little bored. To him, this was just a weird Tuesday. To everyone else, this was a tightrope walk over a canyon and the rope was on fire. The professional actors, Mark and Sarah, were in their positions. They were pros. They shot Andy a look that was a cocktail of pity and, let's just get this over with. They'd seen directors with vision before. It usually ended with a lot of wasted time and a return to the original script. Andy stood by the camera, his face pale. He looked less like a director and more like a man about to watch his own house get demolished. He took a deep breath, so deep you could see his chest rise and fall under his t-shirt. He made eye contact with Gordon one last time. He didn't give him any complex direction. No actor speak. He just said, loud enough for the whole set to hear, "Gordon, just be you. React however you would react." That's it. Then he turned to the crew, his voice cracking just a little. "All right, sound speeding and action." The scene begins. Mark, playing the smarmy office manager, walks over to Gordon's desk. He delivers his line perfectly, dripping with that special kind of corporate condescension that makes your skin crawl. "Gordon, we're going to need you to come in on Saturday. We're pivoting to a new synergy paradigm." The line was intentionally ridiculous. A word salad of business jargon designed to be annoying. Gordon looks up from his computer. He blinks. He looks at Mark. He looks at Sarah, who gives him a sympathetic, scripted shrug. And then nothing. For a solid 2 seconds he just stares. You could hear a pin drop. The producer physically flinched, already reaching for his phone to call the agent for the real actor. Andy's heart sank into his stomach. This was it. The big, embarrassing failure. He'd be a laughingstock. But then something happened. It started in Gordon's jaw. A little twitch. His eyes, which had been blank, suddenly focused with the intensity of a laser beam. His nostrils flared. He wasn't acting. He wasn't finding his motivation. He was channeling every single stupid request, every pointless meeting, every late Friday afternoon email he had ever received in his 20-year career as an accountant. He opened his mouth and what came out wasn't a word. It was a sound, a guttural primal noise that started deep in his chest and clawed its way out. It was a mix between a groan of pure agony and the sound of a bear being woken from hibernation. It was the sound of a soul dying under the weight of fluorescent lighting and TPS reports. And then he did it. He slammed his hands down on the desk. Not a fake actor-wise slam. A real, genuine, "I have had enough of this nonsense" slam. The keyboard jumped. The monitor wobbled. The little bobblehead on his desk fell over. He leaned forward, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated disbelief and rage, and screamed at the top of his lungs, "Are you kidding me?" But it was the follow-up that sealed it. The moment that became immortal. After the scream, he didn't just go back to being calm. He deflated. Like a balloon that had been popped. His whole body slumped. He dragged his hands down his face, pulling at his skin. And then he just stared into the middle distance, his eyes wide, completely vacant, as if his spirit had literally left his body to go find a new host who worked in a less soul-crushing environment. Mark and Sarah, the professional actors, were so stunned they almost broke character. You can see it in the final cut if you look closely. Sarah's mouth is slightly agape. Mark takes a half step back. A flicker of genuine shock on his face before his pro instincts kick in and he delivers his next line. But it didn't matter. The scene was already over. The magic had happened. Andy didn't yell cut right away. He let the camera roll, capturing that beautiful post-scream emptiness on Gordon's face. He was in a trance. Then slowly he whispered it. Cut. For a moment the set was dead silent. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. It was like they had just witnessed a supernova. Then the sound guy took off his headphones, a massive grin spreading across his face. He looked at Andy and just nodded. Then the script supervisor started laughing. A quiet, breathy laugh that quickly turned into a full-blown cackle. And then the dam broke. The entire crew erupted. Laughter, applause, people shaking their heads in disbelief. It was electric. Andy looked over at the producer. The man's jaw was on the floor. His phone was still in his hand, forgotten. He looked from the monitor to Gordon, who was now just looking around confused, asking, was that okay? And then back to Andy. He walked over, put a hand on Andy's shoulder, and said just 3 words. You got it. That was the unforgettable moment. The 1 in a million shot. But why? Why did that one take, that one raw, unfiltered reaction, become one of the most watched clips on the internet? It boils down to one powerful, elusive concept: authenticity. We are bombarded thousands of times a day with manufactured reality, perfectly curated Instagram feeds, polished TV shows, and commercials with actors who are paid to simulate emotion. They're good at it. Sometimes they're very good at it. But our brains, on a subconscious level, almost always know it's a performance. There's a tiny gap between what we're seeing and what feels real. It's what we could call the performance gap. Gordon didn't just bridge that gap. He obliterated it. There was no performance. There was no acting. What you are seeing in that clip is not a character named Gordon feeling frustrated. You are seeing a man named Gordon, who has worked in an office for 2 decades, having a genuine physical, emotional reaction to a trigger that was all too real for him. That scream came from a place of truth. The desk slam wasn't choreographed. It was a reflex. The soul leaving the body stare afterwards wasn't a choice. It was the physiological aftermath of a genuine burst of adrenaline and rage. And that's where the second key comes in: relatability. Every single person who has ever worked a job they didn't love, who has ever been asked to do something pointless by a clueless boss, saw themselves in Gordon. He wasn't an actor. He was an avatar. He was every person who has ever had to bite their tongue in a meeting. He did what we all wish we could do. He screamed the silent scream that exists in the heart of every office worker in America. His reaction wasn't just funny, it was cathartic. Watching it feels like a release because he is doing the one thing we're all told not to do. He's breaking the unspoken social contract of the workplace, and it's glorious. The brilliance of what Andy captured lies in the contrast. You have this sterile, beige, painfully normal office setting. You have 2 actors delivering their lines with professional calm. And then you have this explosion of pure primal humanity. It's a volcano erupting in the middle of a library. The comedy isn't just in the scream itself. It's in the sheer inappropriateness of the scream within that context. It's the chaos agent introduced into a world of order. And that, fundamentally, is the structure of most great comedy. It's the disruption of expectation. No one expected that. Not the actors, not the crew, and certainly not the audience. And in that moment of shattered expectation, we find pure, unadulterated humor. That one shot wasn't just a lucky take. It was a perfect storm of pressure, authenticity, and a director willing to bet his entire career on the simple, radical idea that something real is always more powerful than something fake. And that gamble paid off in a way no one could have possibly predicted, because it tapped into a deep, unspoken frustration that every single one of us feels every single day. Let's call it the authenticity gap. It's the vast, empty canyon that exists between the world we see in advertisements and the world we actually live in. Think about it. Turn on your TV or scroll through your social media feed. What do you see? You see impossibly perfect families, laughing around a dinner table where no one has spilled anything. You see cars driving on empty, rain-slick city streets at night, as if rush hour traffic simply doesn't exist for people who buy the right brand. You see people with perfect skin, perfect teeth, and perfect lives, effortlessly solving all their problems with a single purchase. The food is always flawless, styled by artists with tweezers and glue. The homes are always immaculate, designed by professionals and cleaned by an invisible staff. The relationships are always harmonious, free of the petty arguments and awkward silences that define our real connections. This is the language of advertising. It's a language of aspiration, yes, but it's also a language of hyperbole and, let's be honest, a language of fiction. Over decades, our brains have adapted to this. We've developed a sophisticated subconscious filter, a kind of mental ad blocker. We see the perfect family, and our brain automatically categorizes it. Advertisement. Not real. Ignore. We see the blemish-free model and we think Photoshop. Not real. Keep scrolling. We've become so inundated with this manufactured perfection that we've grown numb to it. It doesn't register anymore. It's white noise. It's wallpaper. It's the visual equivalent of hold music. This is the world that our viral clip was born into. A world of cynical media-savvy viewers who have been trained from birth to distrust anything that looks like it's trying to sell them something. And then this commercial comes along. It doesn't just ignore the rules of manufactured perfection. It takes a sledgehammer to them. In that single chaotic moment, the authenticity gap vanished. It was closed in an instant. The laughter wasn't focus grouped. The surprise wasn't scripted. The reaction wasn't rehearsed by an actor trying to remember their motivation. It was real. It was messy. It was human. And our brains, so accustomed to filtering out the fake, suddenly sat up and paid attention. The mental ad blocker didn't just fail. It was short-circuited entirely. The signal that flashed in our minds wasn't advertisement. It was human moment. It was something real is happening. This is the psychological key to the entire phenomenon. We are so starved for authenticity in our media landscape that when we finally see a genuine, unfiltered moment, it feels like a revelation. It's like drinking a glass of cold water after walking through a desert of artificial sweeteners. This goes beyond just appreciating honesty. It taps into the core of human connection, relatability. None of us live in the perfect worlds depicted in other commercials. Our lives are a series of small, unscripted, often clumsy moments. We trip on the sidewalk. We tell a joke that no one laughs at. We have moments of genuine, uncontrollable laughter that are anything but elegant. When we saw that moment in the commercial, we didn't see actors on a set. We saw ourselves. We saw our friends. We saw our family. We recognized the truth of that chaotic, beautiful human mess. The brand wasn't presenting an idealized version of life for us to aspire to. It was holding up a mirror to the delightful absurdity of the life we actually live. And this relatability is the supercharger for the humor. The reason the laughter in the clip is so contagious is because it's real. There's a psychological concept called emotional contagion, which is the tendency to feel and express emotions similar to those of others around you. When you see someone genuinely stub their toe and yelp in pain, you flinch. When you see someone receive amazing news and their face lights up with pure joy, you can't help but smile. And when you hear a group of people erupt in genuine, helpless, can't-breathe laughter, you are neurologically wired to laugh with them. We aren't just laughing at the situation in the clip, we are laughing with the people in it. We are sharing in their surprise and their delight. The sound of that real laughter is a key that unlocks an empathetic response in our own brains. It's a communal experience. Even when you're watching it alone on your phone at 2 in the morning, you feel like you're in the room with them, sharing that moment. This creates an incredibly powerful emotional bond. The brand is no longer a faceless corporation trying to sell you a product. It's the host of a party where you just shared an incredible, hilarious memory with a bunch of strangers. You feel a sense of warmth and affection, not for the product being advertised, but for the moment the brand allowed to happen. This is what transformed the clip from a funny commercial into a viral phenomenon. People didn't share it with the caption, "Check out this clever marketing from X company." They shared it with captions like, "I'm crying. Watch this now." Or, "This is the funniest thing I've seen all year." It transcended its commercial origins. It became a piece of pure entertainment, a gift. People shared it for the sole purpose of making someone else feel the same joy and laughter they just felt. It became the digital equivalent of the water cooler moment, a shared cultural touchstone that everyone was talking about, not because a marketing team told them to, but because its raw, authentic humanity was impossible to ignore. The strategy wasn't about demographics or psychographics. It was about tapping into the universal human desire to see something true and to share a good, honest laugh. In a world saturated with fiction, a single unadulterated moment of reality became the most valuable commodity of all. It proved that the most effective way to connect with an audience wasn't to show them a perfect life they could buy, but to reflect the imperfect life they already lived, and to find the joy and humor within it. This realization wasn't just a breakthrough for a single campaign. It was a paradigm shift. It was the moment advertisers began to understand that in the burgeoning age of social media, authenticity wasn't just a buzzword, it was the entire currency. And this commercial became the gold standard. So let's pull back the curtain and look at the architecture of this masterpiece, because its viral success wasn't an accident. It was a carefully constructed piece of psychological and comedic genius, built on a foundation of three critical pillars: the uncasting, the sacred timing, and the universal trigger. First, let's talk about the uncasting. Think about the commercials you typically saw during that era. They were populated by impossibly good-looking actors with perfect teeth, living in homes that looked like they were staged for a magazine shoot. The parents were always well-rested. The kids were precocious but never problematic, and every problem could be solved with a gentle smile and the right product. This ad threw that entire playbook into a bonfire. The actors they chose were brilliant specifically because they felt like they weren't acting. They were selected not for their celebrity or their polished perfection, but for their profound, undeniable every-person quality. The mother in the commercial is the key. She wasn't a supermodel playing a mom. She was the embodiment of every frazzled, loving, trying her best parent in America. Look at her face in the seconds before the chaos erupts. There's a subtle weariness in her eyes, a familiar blend of love and exhaustion that anyone who's ever raised a child, or even babysat for an afternoon, can recognize instantly. Her hair isn't perfect. Her expression isn't one of serene bliss. It's one of focused, determined, let's just get through this meal energy. This wasn't a casting choice. It was a declaration of solidarity. The agency wasn't showing you an aspiration. They were holding up a mirror. And in that reflection, millions of people saw themselves. The same goes for the father and, of course, the child. They weren't idealized versions of a family. They were a snapshot of a real one, caught in a moment of mundane, unglamorous reality. This decision to cast for relatability over aspiration was the single most important choice they made. It lowered our defenses. We weren't watching a sales pitch, we were watching our neighbors. We were watching ourselves. This brings us to the second pillar, the sacred timing. Comedy, at its core, is a science of expectation and surprise, and the timing of this ad is a masterclass. The entire 30-second spot is structured like a perfect joke. You have the setup, the punchline, and the reaction. The setup is the first few seconds of deceptive calm. The family is at the table. The mood is relatively normal. We, the audience, are conditioned by thousands of other commercials to expect a heartwarming moment. Maybe the kid will say something cute. Maybe the parents will share a knowing glance. Our brains are predicting a familiar, safe outcome. This is the setup. The director lets this moment breathe for just a beat too long, creating a subconscious tension. Then comes the punchline. It's not a line of dialogue, it's an action. A sudden, explosive, unpredictable moment of pure chaos. It happens so fast that it bypasses our critical thinking and hits us directly in the gut. The surprise is total. The violation of our expectation, the expectation of a peaceful family meal, is so abrupt and so complete that our only possible release is laughter. It's a neurological trick. The brain, confronted with a sudden, non-threatening absurdity, short-circuits, and that short-circuit manifests as a laugh. But the genius doesn't stop at the punchline. It's the final beat, the reaction, that cements this as an all-time great. The mother's reaction shot is everything. It is a perfectly calibrated symphony of shock, disbelief, and a flicker of course this would happen. It's not over the top. She doesn't scream or yell in an unbelievable way. It's a stunned, silent, wide-eyed moment of surrender to the absurd reality of her life. That single silent moment is more relatable and funnier than any witty line of dialogue could ever be. It's the silent scream of every parent who has ever seen a carefully prepared meal end up on the walls, on the ceiling, or in their hair. The timing of that shot, holding on her face for just a fraction of a second, allows the audience to project their own experiences onto her. We don't just laugh at her. We laugh with her, in a moment of shared universal understanding. And that leads us to the third and most powerful pillar, the universal trigger. The ad doesn't rely on clever wordplay, pop culture references, or humor that's specific to a certain demographic. It taps into something far more fundamental. It taps into the universal human experience of chaos. You don't have to be a parent to get the joke. Anyone who has ever been part of a family, anyone who has ever seen plans go perfectly awry, anyone who understands that life is inherently messy and unpredictable, gets it. The situation is a primal source of comedy, the battle between order and chaos. The parents represent our desire for order, for a clean house, for a civilized meal. The child represents the glorious, untamable force of chaos that constantly threatens to upend our carefully laid plans. This dynamic is timeless. It's in Shakespearean comedies and in silent films. It's the core of what makes us human. We strive for control in a universe that is fundamentally uncontrollable. The ad distills this epic, lifelong struggle into a single hilarious 5-second event. This is why it transcended borders and languages. You could watch this commercial on mute, in a country where you didn't speak a word of the language, and you would still laugh. The humor isn't cultural, it's biological. It's the comedy of things falling apart. By stripping away complex narrative and focusing on this one pure visual gag, the creators ensured their message had an almost unlimited reach. They weren't just selling a product for the American family. They were selling a moment of comedic relief to the human family. They had bottled lightning, creating a perfect storm of relatable characters, flawless comedic timing, and a universally understood theme. They had created a viral sensation before they even knew what that truly meant. But in doing so, they also unleashed a chain of events they could never have anticipated. A ripple effect that would fundamentally alter the advertising landscape and change the lives of the very people who brought this unforgettable moment to life. The world saw a funny commercial, but behind the scenes, a very different, and far more dramatic, story was just beginning to unfold. The explosion was immediate and total. Before the Super Bowl broadcast had even finished, the commercial was all anyone could talk about. It wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. In an era before going viral was a household term, this 30-second spot achieved a level of cultural saturation that was simply unheard of. It was the lead story on entertainment news shows. Johnny Carson made jokes about it in his monologue. Columnists in major newspapers wrote think pieces dissecting its comedic genius. In offices and schoolyards across America, people were reenacting the fall, mimicking the deadpan delivery of the final line. The ad agency, a plucky upstart that had been fighting for scraps just weeks earlier, was suddenly the most sought-after creative shop on Madison Avenue. Their phone didn't just ring. It screamed, a constant siren call from Fortune 500 companies who now saw them as miracle workers, capable of turning potato chips into pure gold. They had captured lightning in a bottle, and now everyone wanted a bottle of their own. For the two actors at the heart of it all, life was about to change in ways they could never have imagined. For Bill, the man who took the fall, the change was meteoric. He became, overnight, one of the most recognizable faces in the country. He couldn't go to a grocery store without someone shouting the commercial's catchphrase at him. He was stopped for autographs, invited onto talk shows, and hailed as a comedic genius. It was everything he had ever dreamed of, and it was a nightmare. Bill was a classically trained actor. He had studied Shakespeare. He had performed in serious off-Broadway plays. His ambition was to be the next Dustin Hoffman or Al Pacino. But in the eyes of the public and, more importantly, in the eyes of casting directors, he wasn't Bill anymore. He was the chip guy. Every audition he went on was for a variation of the same role. The clumsy goofball, the lovable loser, the guy who falls down. The 30 seconds that made him famous had also put his entire career in a box, and the lid was closing fast. For Tom, the straight man, the aftermath was a different kind of torment. He was the anchor of the commercial. His perfect, understated reaction was the bedrock upon which the entire joke was built. Without his flawless timing, Bill's pratfall was just a guy tripping. Tom knew this. The director knew this. The agency knew this. But the public? They didn't see him at all. His face was the one that didn't launch 1,000 memes. While Bill was being interviewed on national television, Tom was waiting tables, still going to the same fruitless auditions he had been for years. He watched his friend's life transform into a whirlwind of celebrity and opportunity, and a quiet, bitter resentment began to take root. He was happy for his friend, of course, but he was also human. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was the forgotten co-pilot of a rocket ship, left standing on the launch pad while his partner flew to the moon. The pressure began to mount. The chip company, ecstatic with their newfound cultural relevance, wanted to double down. They didn't just want a commercial, they wanted a mascot. They envisioned a whole universe built around Bill's character. A series of new commercials, print ads, even talk of a Saturday morning cartoon. They drew up a multi-year, multi-million-dollar exclusivity contract and presented it to Bill. It was, on paper, a life-changing amount of money, but reading the fine print, a cold dread washed over him. The contract stipulated that he would legally become the character. He would be required to make public appearances in costume. He would be barred from taking any other acting roles in any medium that were not approved by the brand. They weren't just buying his time, they were buying his identity. To sign it would be to accept that he would never be a serious actor. He would be the chip guy forever. To refuse it would be to walk away from generational wealth and be labeled as ungrateful and difficult by the very industry he was trying to conquer. This is when the cracks in the foundation truly began to show. The ad agency, now swimming in new business thanks to the commercial, was under immense pressure from their flagship client to get Bill to sign the deal. The client's happiness was now tied to millions of dollars in future revenue for the agency. Suddenly, the creative partners who had championed Bill's talent were acting more like corporate handlers, urging him to be a team player and not ruin a good thing. Bill felt betrayed. These were the people who had told him he was a brilliant performer, and now they were asking him to trade his art for a paycheck. The breaking point came at an industry awards ceremony. The commercial swept every category, and the team went up on stage to accept the grand prize. In the celebratory chaos afterward, a journalist asked Bill about his future plans and the rumored contract. Bill, feeling cornered, gave a non-committal answer about exploring his options and wanting to preserve his artistic integrity. Standing nearby, Tom overheard this. After weeks of simmering jealousy, watching Bill complain about the burden of his fame, something inside him snapped. Later that night, away from the cameras, he confronted Bill. He accused him of being an arrogant fool, of spitting in the face of the kind of success that actors like him would kill for. He couldn't understand how someone could be so miserable about winning the lottery. Bill fired back, telling Tom he had no idea what it was like to have his dreams suffocated by a caricature. The words they exchanged were cruel and deeply personal, severing a friendship that had been forged in the shared hope of a dusty audition room. They had achieved the impossible together, and that very achievement had torn them apart. The world saw a funny ad about a guy falling over, but behind that simple laugh was a tangled web of broken dreams, corporate greed, and a fractured friendship. The commercial had become a cultural artifact, but the human cost of its creation was becoming dangerously high. Bill was now facing an impossible choice: sue the very company that made him a star, or surrender his future. The agency was caught between their clients' demands and their own conscience, and Tom was left to watch from the sidelines, grappling with his own bitterness and the ghost of a career he felt he deserved. The feel-good story of the year had curdled into a cautionary tale, a brutal lesson in the unforgiving nature of fame. And the final, most dramatic act of this story was about to play out, not in front of a camera, but in the cold, unforgiving reality of a lawyer's office. The conference room was sterile, smelling of old paper and expensive, tasteless coffee. On one side of a ridiculously long mahogany table sat Dave, his agent, and a hungry-looking lawyer who seemed to view the world through a lens of billable hours. On the other side, a phalanx of suits, lawyers for the ad agency, lawyers for the brand, and a few stone-faced executives who refused to make eye contact. The air wasn't just tense. It was a vacuum, sucking all the leftover humor from the situation until nothing remained but the cold, hard calculus of liability. The lawsuit Dave filed was a bombshell. It wasn't just about money, it was about narrative control. His lawyers argued for breach of contract, claiming the agency had failed to protect him from foreseeable harm. They argued for intentional infliction of emotional distress, citing the deluge of harassment and the documented impact on his mental health. But the most potent claim was for misappropriation of likeness, arguing that the agency hadn't just used his face, they had twisted it, turning Dave the actor into that guy from the commercial, a permanent, inescapable caricature he never agreed to become. The agency's response was swift and brutal. Their legal strategy was simple: bury him. They filed a motion to dismiss, calling the lawsuit frivolous. Their official statement portrayed Dave as an ungrateful actor who was paid handsomely for a job and was now trying to extort them for more money because the ad was too successful. They painted him as a complainer, someone who couldn't handle the heat of the spotlight he so desperately craved. In their narrative, they weren't villains. They were star makers, and he was the ungrateful creation turning on his masters. It was a classic corporate playbook: deny, delay, and discredit. But then came the discovery phase. That's the part of a lawsuit where both sides have to show their cards, and it's where the truth, or at least a version of it, often bleeds out from behind the corporate firewall. Dave's lawyers subpoenaed every email, every memo, every text message related to the campaign, and what they found was pure gold. It was the smoking gun. Internal emails from the agency's creative director, the architect of the campaign, laid the strategy bare. One email sent weeks before the shoot read, "We need a character who is teetering on the edge of pathetic, relatable but also someone you can laugh at, not just with. We need maximum memeability." Another, in a chain discussing potential actors, singled out Dave's audition tape with the note, "This guy has the perfect face for it. A little sad, a little hopeful. The internet will eat him alive. It's perfect." They knew exactly what they were doing. It wasn't an accident, it was a strategy. The humiliation wasn't a byproduct of the fame. It was the engine of it. They had engineered his downfall for their client's benefit, sacrificing a human being on the altar of viral marketing. They had analyzed the culture, understood the mechanics of online mockery, and intentionally served Dave up as the main course. The final nail in their coffin was a PowerPoint presentation for the client, outlining the media strategy. One slide contained a single, damning phrase under the heading "Earned Media Projections." Controversy equals conversation. Outrage equals engagement. Faced with this evidence, the agency's ironclad defense began to rust. A public trial would be a catastrophe. These documents would be read in open court, picked apart by news outlets, and shredded on the very social media platforms they had sought to conquer. The brand, terrified of being associated with such a cynical and predatory strategy, started putting immense pressure on the agency to make it all go away. The executives who once refused to look at Dave were now staring at a public relations nightmare that could cost them hundreds of millions in brand equity. The trial never happened. A few weeks before the court date, the flurry of legal motions suddenly stopped. A settlement was reached. The terms were, and remain to this day, sealed under an ironclad non-disclosure agreement. No one involved can ever speak a word about the specifics, but whispers get out. People talk. Sources close to the case have suggested the final number was astronomical. Not just go-away money, but disappear and never be heard from again money. A figure in the high 7, maybe even 8 figures. Enough to compensate for a ruined career, a stolen identity, and the psychological toll of being the world's punchline. So where did everyone end up? The ad agency, despite the massive payout, suffered surprisingly little. They lost the brand as a client, but the creative director who designed the campaign was quietly promoted a year later. He now gives talks at industry conferences about disruptive advertising and engineering virality. The ad itself went on to win a Clio Award, one of the most prestigious honors in advertising. In the sanitized world of award ceremonies, it was celebrated for its cultural impact and unforgettable character, with no mention of the human cost. The brand, after a brief dip, saw its sales soar. The controversy, as the agency predicted, had equaled conversation. The name recognition was off the charts. They had successfully seared their product into the global consciousness. For them, the settlement was just a line item in the marketing budget, a small price to pay for a legendary campaign. They got exactly what they paid for. And Dave? He took the money and vanished. He deleted all his social media, changed his phone number, and moved out of Los Angeles. There are no recent photos of him, no new acting credits. He effectively erased himself from the public eye. The settlement bought him financial freedom, but the price was his silence and his dream. He won the lawsuit, but the internet never forgets. The meme is still out there. The clip still gets shared. He is, and perhaps forever will be, frozen in those 30 seconds of fame, a digital ghost in the machine. And that brings us back to the clip itself. The clip that started it all. Why does it have millions of views? Why do we still watch it? First, we watched it because it was funny. It was a perfect little piece of physical comedy. A relatable moment of awkwardness. We laughed because we saw a little bit of ourselves in him, or perhaps we laughed because we were glad we weren't him. But now, when you watch it, you see something different. You see the architecture of a takedown. You see the gears of a multi-million-dollar marketing machine grinding a person into a product. You see a man at a crossroads performing his heart out in what he thinks is his big break, completely unaware that he's auditioning for the role of the global village idiot. The clip's enduring virality is no longer just about the humor. It's a monument. It's a case study in the brutal economy of modern fame, an economy where human beings are the raw material, and our attention is the currency. We are the consumers, but we are also the factory workers churning out memes, shares, and comments, often with no thought to the origin of the product or the well-being of the person at its center. Dave's story is a warning. It's a reminder that behind every viral video, every funny clip, every trending meme, there is a human being. A person with hopes, dreams, and a life that continues long after the buzz fades, and we've scrolled on to the next piece of content. We have more power than we think. With every click, every share, every laugh, we are casting a vote. We are deciding what kind of content gets rewarded, what kind of behavior gets amplified, and ultimately, who gets to be the hero, and who is forced to play the clown. So the next time you see that clip, and you will remember the story you just heard. Remember the emails, the lawsuit, and the man who traded his name for a number. And maybe, just maybe, you won't see a punchline. You'll see a person. And in this vast, chaotic, and often cruel digital world, seeing the person is the one thing that changes everything.